because I often forget to do that. I'm going to let you know that we'll be putting some things in the chat box so you know how to find these folks. That's not what we want. And if you have questions, we've got some folks who need to mute their phones, please. I'm going to mute you all, actually. Okay. So if you have questions, pop them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll get to your questions. Let's jump into our program. We're going to start with Jenny Mosier, and then we'll hear from Xin Ying in a few moments. First of all, both ladies, thank you so much for getting up early and being with us to tell your story. Now, Jenny hails from North Carolina, is that correct? Yes.
It is, good memory.
Yeah, and she attended Northwestern and then received her Master of Music, Voice and Opera from Indiana University, and she's coming to us today from Bloomington. Jenny, I don't want to steal your thunder, but let's just say she started designing websites for herself and others. And she's recently co-founded a company called Stage Time. And I think of it as sort of a LinkedIn specifically for performers and artists. So I don't want to take your story because it's such a good one. But I will share that she recently got some funding from the Velocities Partnership. And we're hoping that some folks from Columbus will decide to take a chance on a business idea and come to us for similar support. So Jenny, why don't you take a few minutes, tell us about you and tell us about Stage Time.
Okay, that sounds good. Good morning. I always feel funny saying, hi, I'm the founder of Stage Time, a professional network for performing artists, because even though that's true, it feels like the punchline after everything that kind of led to it. So like Cindy said, I have 2 degrees in voice and opera, one from Northwestern, and then I came to IU for my master's. And along the way, I kind of noticed that the things that I was really drawn to in design, so I was part of the fashion magazine at Northwestern, because they did not need me to write, as they never needed that from me. So they asked me to do layout, and I found that design-wise, the things that I was really drawn to, I very rarely saw reflected in materials for the arts. I just didn't think they were high quality or trendy or presenting my friends and the things I really loved about music in the same way I perceived them. I felt like it was very mismatched, and that bothered me. And so all of a sudden I was the only singer that also knew how to run the Creative Suite, the Adobe Creative Suite. And so I'd done some lighter design work, some posters, that sort of thing. And then a friend of mine won a big voice competition, the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions, which is big, really big. And I remember that she got profiled by the New York Times, and I was reading the New York Times article, and then I did what any interested logical viewer would do. And I said, I should look at Madison's website. And it was terrible. And I was so taken aback because this was one of my best friends, one of the smartest, sharpest, most interesting singers that I knew. And her website looked like a bad Easter egg broken half, and there were some headshots laying around. And so I said, hey, please send me your materials. I want to take a crack at this. And I just spent a few hundred hours doing that, and eventually decided that whatever we had was better than what she had before. So we hit publish, and then the following summer, over the course of 3 months, I think I fielded about 100 requests for individual artist websites. And that was 3 years ago maybe, and since then I think I've fielded maybe 450 or 500 requests for individual artist websites. So the first 3 was really exciting and a little bit flattering, and then pretty much numbers 4 through 500, it was really apparent that there was just a huge need, and there was something about what I was doing that filled it. So during grad school, I just made website after website after website. And there were just several points where I feel like I all of a sudden was looking at my email and thought, there are so many parts of this that are replicable, that there's no additional value if I'm the one doing them manually every time. So at first that was website upkeep. And then I was really interested in stretching the value of my time a little further so I could keep working on new projects. And then it became, well, what about starting this very specific large scale media project can I automate? And I ended up with a small team. And finally it got to the point where custom work didn't feel like the right value add for an individual singer, because that's a huge expensive media piece for one person who's not really a business entity, but who's expected to function like one. So I thought, templates. If I can just turn this thing into a product and duplicate it and send it out to empower people to do this themselves, well, then that's great. I can only work on projects that truly warrant innovative custom work or design, if you want to call it that. And then everybody else who just needs this product can use that. That didn't work. It became apparent really quickly that for people who spend most of their time on stage, asking them to spend several hours on a design project, no matter how many steps I did for them, was still not really a solution. There was a lot that could go wrong. It's a massive labor. It's not what they're good at. And then beyond that, even if you have this website that in theory is doing what you want it to, you have to distribute it. So it was a constant, my news feeds on Facebook and Instagram are only my friends who are in this weird interim professionally, where they are professional artists who opera companies want to see function as exciting business entities that they can then sell. But they're not Yo-Yo Ma or Renee Fleming. They don't have fan bases that warrant a brand and a website and a presence like they think they do. So there is this piece of creating the website and then distributing it on social media. And when I'm talking to performers, I never even say Stage Time is LinkedIn for performers, because they don't understand that. It's not a frame of reference. If I'm speaking to someone else, it's immediately, oh, it's LinkedIn for performers. But for a performer, they're like, oh yeah, what's LinkedIn? How do people use that? So the next thing that happened was that actually at the Mill in Bloomington, somebody else observed that maybe the path of least resistance was to create a space for people to tell that professional story, but in a way that was led by the things that they needed to lead with to tell the story, which in the arts is not your job experience and what softwares you can run and what your title was, associate versus director, or anything like that. It is, how do I sing? How do I sound? How do I look when I sing? How do I move? How do I make you feel? And LinkedIn doesn't really capture any of those things. And in fact, I would argue that it kind of punishes people for using the platform in that way. If you see a lot of media on LinkedIn, it probably is a weird ping in your head. And if you see someone changing their current position every month and a half or 2 months, you probably think they're really flaky. But in a gig economy, in my line of work, that's a hugely celebratory thing. So that is kind of how the idea for Stage Time came about, creating a professional space for performing artists to tell this kind of holistic, comprehensive narrative that celebrates the turn of a gig economy and fields media in a really efficient, forward-facing way. So a few other people thought that was an okay idea, and eventually it led to the Community Ideation Fund. So I'm building it, and I get to spend a lot of my time now talking to my friends and clients and saying, hey, tell me how annoying it is. Tell me how annoying it is to have to take to Instagram and talk to, a couple hundred fans or people who are interested in you as singers, and also all of your friends and all of your family, and say, and self-promote. And none of them like it, actually, for the most part. none of them like it. So that's what I'm building.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, can you tell us how you hired your team and about the funding process? Tell us how you found the right talent to develop the tool.
Yeah. It is shifted multiple times, which the first couple of times it shifted, I think I remember um, sitting down on the floor in my bedroom one day and thinking, well, it was a good run. It was a good idea, and I was really excited about it. And that shift in variables was very jarring. Um, Now it's not, especially with the pandemic. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of annoying. It seems like par for the course. It's probably time to go find a solution for that. Um, so at first it was someone from out of town who pointed out that this could be a great idea, who also ran a dev shop in California and said, let's build this together. And then his commitment and energy changed. Mine did not. So I kind of moved forward. He had introduced me to some other people who had similar excitement and energy for the product, who helped me move the needle in a lot of different ways and technical things that I did not have the facility to do on my own. Writing an INTAP application and really breaking down the process.
What is that? What is that? INTAP.
The Indiana Technical Assistance Program. So a very clear technical project with very clear technical steps, deliverables, and outcomes that truly move the needle for your project. But that's not an application I think I would have felt comfortable writing on my own. So that was a big part of it. So I'd been in touch with Shah, with David's head of product. And then, sure enough, we get a pandemic right before we've decided to build this thing together. And that's no longer a viable commitment for all parties involved, which makes sense. So she helped me write job descriptions, and I thankfully have not yet had to use them. I combed my network and actually now ended up with a few really, really cool individuals. One is another designer that I actually met at Design and Donuts Through the Mill and have been chatting with over the past year, but especially since Stage Time started, about the value of the idea. And as a freelancer and a designer, he kind of immediately understood gig economy, the high reward of excellent design that feels like a comprehensive product for an artist. So as far as designing something that is this comprehensively, ideally successful, AJ O'Reilly is a designer in town and has been really helpful. But on the technical side, I somehow found two full stack developers that also both have music degrees. One was a gentleman that I went to Northwestern with. He was doing his master's in voice and opera while I was doing my undergrad degree. And at a point, he wanted to head back to school and learn to code. And so now he's in Chicago doing that full time. And again, it was really nice to start to explain the project and have somebody go, oh yeah, I get it. I'll listen to your pitch, but yeah, I get it. I wish this had existed for me. And then the same happened with another colleague who had actually been a client who ran his own, we'll call it a startup for the purposes of the performing arts, but it was a very different performance model. And I was never sure if it was going to work when they were my clients as this small opera company, but I always liked them. And lo and behold, he also went back to school to code and has a master's from Juilliard and went through the young artist training program at the Met. So to fold them into this and to hear them get it immediately and then to almost exclusively add value on the intellectual side, or the, hey, we could clean the data in this way, or have you thought about the fact that we could automate this for people? That has been really exciting to finally not feel like I'm the only one interested in or capable of moving the ball forward. My favorite thing is when I've stepped out for a minute for my afternoon walk and I look down at my phone and see that I've missed notifications because they were talking to each other about the project. That's my favorite thing, is when I'm like, oh, somebody else is working on it if I'm on a walk, and then I want to get back.
So you got some funding. How will you use that funding? What's the plan?
Build as efficiently as possible, as quickly as possible without cutting corners. Deliver something that is a step up from what I had been doing before, because as much as individual websites are not a technology product, it was a version of the MVP in the way that it solved the problem for people. So to make sure that there's a very clear value add when I go back to this same network of people. That's how I'm evaluating the actual build out and deployment of funds is, okay, if this, that, for instance, as a designer, I mean, I like my work enough to feel really excited and comfortable doing a lot of the product design, but it did hit a point where I had to go, I'm not a product designer. And if everybody's waiting on me to put together a component library of design elements for a technology product, we're going to be here for a long time. Or I'm going to get something wrong. I'm going to design a button the wrong way, and then I'm going to have designed something crazy. It's going to cost us X number more dollars to actually develop. So it got to the point where I kind of felt like I knew when to ask for help with design and basically figuring out how I could stretch those funds to be the most valuable for the product long term.
What are you most excited about right now?
Oh, launching it. Now that we have a date, now I feel like it's very real, even though I've been working on this since October. And I know it'll break and I'll scream and tear my hair out, but man, I can't wait for that. That sounds pretty exciting, especially in a pandemic.
I have a feeling a lot of what you're saying, Jenny, really resonates with our second guest. I know that she spends a lot of time doing her own marketing, so I think I'll let her talk a little bit, and then we'll come back and do questions for both of you, because there might be some things that people want to ask that you'll both have sort of a different take or perspective on. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome, good. I'm really excited about what you're doing, Jenny, and just, want you to just keep going, just cheering you on. And I especially love it when I see a female entrepreneur stepping out. It's really cool.
Thanks, Cindy.
I want to turn our attention now to Xin Ying. Ying is originally from, I'll probably butcher this, you and Lee can both correct me, Mianyang, China, in Sichuan.
Yeah.
That sound right?
Yeah.
Close?
Close.
So Ying is a principal dancer with Martha Graham Dance Company. She's been with the company, she's been in the United States for about 9 years.
10 years.
10 years now. So she's normally in New York City, but is currently sheltering in Indianapolis with some family, which is great for the Fry family because we get to see her. She's also the artistic director for the Xin Ying International Dance and Arts Center in Shanghai.
Yes.
Which is open sort of amidst the pandemic, which is interesting. And she does a lot of online instruction now. All of the Martha Graham team is working virtually. And I think the other thing you should know about Ying is that she's a choreographer as well. She's just a very creative person. And one of the reasons I thought she would fit into this conversation with Jenny is, how she's promoting herself, her craft, using social media, especially Instagram. And I've been watching, of course, I do kind of track your numbers. And just this week, I think you've added 1,100 followers. So you've got over 31,000 followers on Instagram. So Ying, tell us a little bit and maybe what you relate to what Jenny was saying about how you market yourself.
Yes, I really relate to what Jenny said, because, we're performer artists and we're not really good at website design. And the only way, especially nowadays, the technology, you kind of have to use them, like kind of get on board, right? Social media is a big part of it. And which is so interesting, because not everybody, like in performing arts, actually want to promote themselves on social media, because I don't know, maybe it's considered not as serious in arts, or maybe that's why. And but I start my social media just because I have so many contents, because we dancers are always working with photographers, so we always have a lot of pictures. Then that's how we're starting to posting, like, on my Instagram. And in the beginning, I haven't really found what's my brand, or what's my the content, the main products on my social media page. I don't know what people want. I just know what I want to put out there, or what is available. For example, the beautiful pictures, or just some goofy pictures from a dinner or lunch. And then I think I post the first one was 3 years ago, and me and my husband, we had a little bit, we drank a little bit in happy hours. I was very happy. I saw a really beautiful light on the street. I just said, oh, I want to dance in that light. So we made a really short video and post online on my Instagram. And people liked it, and I enjoyed to do it as well. So we kind of kept doing it everywhere I travel. I will instead take a selfie. I will take, a little short improv videos, and people started. You can feel the audience will come back for the very specific videos. They like that. Oh, you're traveling to here. They can relate it to space. And also they like that little short performance as well. And for them, they think it's really odd, because I always dance in public. So that's another things kind of, jumped out like from a different dance videos. So maybe that's why. And I started to realize that as well, and people liking it. And I was thinking, okay, I enjoy doing this, and they like it as well. I will keep doing it. So now I have so many improv videos.
You do. And I had this, you saw, I tried to share this a minute ago, but I've got this queued up. Can you all see my screen? So I'm going to just show an example. This is one of my favorites.
It's New York City, yeah. Yep.
In case people don't know what an improv is, there you go.
Yeah. So basically, improv, I never do a second take. Just do one take and do whatever I want, whatever I feel at the moment. So that will be, that will be that video. We never do the second time. That's what we agree on. I said we, which is I consider my husband as my team, because he always the photographer, the videographer for me. So that's how I started. And I think from 2016, it's starting to become a big trend. A lot casting agencies, they were searching online, they will check through social media. That's probably because of liking of our website, which is now doing a great job on our website. That's why. So I think I started to realize social media is very important, because very easy access. You can just get on it and see everything about this person. And it's really a great tool and helping me a lot. I think I got Kate Spade fall campaign. They reached out to our company, but when I went to the official casting in person, I saw they actually took a picture from my Instagram, which is, I think that's how they found me in the beginning. Then they reached out to my brand.
So that was about 2 years ago. You were featured in that Kate Spade Global Fall Fashion campaign. 3 years ago.
3 years ago, there was a fall campaign. Yeah, that was pretty, just make me realize how important it is. So I always pay more attention and investing a little more time. Now, never overwhelming, of course, because it can be so hard to keep up with social media. If you invest even 24 hours, it won't be enough. Yeah, so far so good. It's been really, working well. And I've been recognized by different dancers, choreographers, and I had my first choreography gig from Collab, which is founded by ABT dancers. You know, it's kind of summer company. When they have a summer breaks, they're gonna form a dance company and presenting program.
So that's American Ballet Theater for those of
Yeah.
us who don't know what ABT is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how they recognize me, and that's how I start to doing, you know, my own choreography. Since I did a lot of improv, I kind of developed this my own style, and I will say very related to my Chinese training, dance training background, and also the contemporary and modern training I have right now. So kind of all showed in there, and it's good to be recognized, especially, you know, I just using social media. I really need a good website though. I definitely have to ask Jenny to help out for that.
You know, I know one of the things Jenny has talked about with me is how if you put something on YouTube, then you're all the comments, people weigh in and sort of give their judgment, right? I rarely see a negative mention on your Instagram account, but I think that is you know, that lack of control is a problem.
Yeah, I had so many people ask me about that, especially young dancers. You know how you're facing judgment, how you facing like a rejection, and especially on social media. Like that's one of the main reason people don't want to posting things on social media, right? And for me, social media not just a brand or image I put out there. For example, I try to remain this like perfect image. No, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to post something out there. I feel, oh, I had fun today. You know, I did something fun. I enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it as well. So the main purpose for me is I'm happy about it. So if somebody not happy about it, I don't really pay too much attention. And also just because you keep doing this thing very consistently, you can have very loyal fans as well. So your fan base become more loyal, more stable. That's why you don't see much a negative comment about it, because most of them are coming back for this many times. They like this. They join to you because of what you put out there. So that's one advice I always giving to people. Don't thinking you have to keep up with the social media as this perfect image you put out there. You just put part of you, which is true to yourself. Then people who likes you and enjoy your personality and that point of view, they will join to you and become very loyal fan base of yours. So that would be my advice for that.
You mentioned that you got connected with Kate Spade and also the collab workshop with American Ballet Theater because of your Instagram. That crazy coat you have on in that improv we just looked at, was that not an Instagram?
That is actually, I made so many friends through Instagram, all over the world. So that's one of the really good story to tell. It's one Japanese artist, and she follows me on Instagram, and she loves my improv. And when she found out, because I posted on my Instagram and said, "Oh, I'm touring in Paris. I will perform in Paris Opera for 2 weeks." Then she reached out. Oh my God, me and my boyfriend, we had this exhibition in Paris. You have to come to see us. If you can come, that'll be such an honor. And uh, it was a perfect timing. I had 1 day off that day. I didn't really have a show. So me and my husband went to the exhibition. We're just nearby. We stopped at the exhibition. It was amazing, amazing artist. And somehow we started talking, and we just become friends from that. Of course, we live in New York City and they live in Japan. But we just keep back and forth. And I think last time when they visit New York, he said her boyfriend is the one who joined my, design my code. If you want to do something with our code, I can totally do that. And that's what he did on my code, which is the letters from A to Z, the 24 letters. And every word is a word describing me. And in the end, with my name, Xin Ying Z, in the end. So that was kind of amazing. He actually designed one of the, what's that brand? Sorry, I don't.
Fendi.
Fendi, yeah, he actually designed one of the Fendi's peekaboo bag. I think that's what they call. Yeah, and we're still really great friends. I just found out they got married not too long ago, a few months ago. And yeah, that's how social media connect you. Now I have friends from the Europe, all different countries, and China, and Japan, Korea, Greece, Argentina. I'm working with photographers, crossing the world, especially now. Everybody's in isolation, so artists, performing artists especially, really reaching out through social media. So all kinds of different kind collaboration happening. So it's just pretty amazing. It become the new normal. That's why if you didn't mention it, I just like, oh, forgot about it. But that's become the new normal for me now, how to connect with my friends.
For those who don't know, can you tell them a little bit about what Martha Graham Dance Company is, a little bit of the history? Because we live in a place that's just full of modern architecture, modern furniture design. How does Martha Graham relate to that?
So Martha Graham Dance Company is the oldest company in the United States. This year we just celebrate our 94th anniversary. So it's kind of interesting how an old company can survive until now. And I always tell people, because Martha Graham's influence, just her influence is not just in dance, it's crossing the whole arts, the costume design. So she worked with artists, musicians, and fashion also. So that's why her influence is so broad. So that's now today we don't just have dance to work on. We have so many other things that can spread out as well. If you want, I encourage you to go on YouTube and check out Martha Graham Dance Company's YouTube channel. A lot of information about it, and the great technique as well. There's also another reason Martha Graham Dance Company doing so well. They have a school that providing Martha Graham technique, which is really good for your core. If you want to work on your abs and really your back muscles, that's a great technique to go. Yep. So
Yes.
that's just a little bit about Martha Graham Company, but
Yes. So Ying invited our family to attend one of her online stretching classes, and we were slightly intimidated that weren't sure we were ready for that.
Oh, I think you are. Everyone's a dancer if you want to. Yeah, Martha Graham said, don't care about how good your dance is, just get up and dance, The passion is most important.
Ying, I have a question for you. When you go to China and teach your classes, I know you kind of have introduced improv in some situations, and people have a very emotional response when you do those. Can you talk about that experience of teaching in China and how it's a little bit different, and teaching improv in particular?
I think in China, especially old times, the one I was trained. Wow, that sounds so old, but not that long ago, everybody. Dance is more focused on skill, like your flexibility, or how many flip you can do, instead just really focus on body, how you feel and express your emotion. So when I did this workshop, I starting to connect this. I was telling them your body and soul. I consider dance as a kind of a form of meditation sometimes, because that's a real moment. You're actually connecting your mind with your body. You use your mind to control your body with your breath at the same time. I will let them to close their eyes and just give the imagination. For example, you're going to traveling to your childhood house and tell me how you feel, how your body feel, and how that sound in your head making your body feel, how that emotion make your body feel, like what's that feeling in your core. And when people start to connect that, I don't know, suddenly just have this, they just kind of out of control a little bit. Sometimes it will scare me. They will start crying, or they have very strong reaction to it. That's what make me feel, oh, people really need to express themselves. That's how important those improv classes for them as well. I can give you an example, everybody, since we are here. I'm not gonna go super deep or anything. No, not at all. I just want simply close the eyes. Yes. And I want you to reach out your hand in the air. Just go back and forth with your fingers. Feel the air in between your fingers. And tell me what the temperature is. And what that temperature can bring you. And you feel warm. I feel a little breezy. And what kind of memory can bring you to. And just imagine all those airs in your hand slowly forming into a ball. It will glow in color. It can be any color, whatever you want. And ask yourself, what that color bring you? What that feeling bring you and your body? And simply just pull this feeling into your chest and remember how that feel on your chest. Yeah, that's just very simple exercise for you to know the imagination, how your movement actually can do. For example, while telling you, feel the air in between your fingers are opening up, right? Then I tell you, holding this ball and putting it into your chest. It's just a simple, very simple gesture and movement. But you actually using all your imagination, all the colors is there, all the feelings is there, the temperature is there, which is you will never notice before. In some way, make your body move more real and make all the sensation more intense. That's, yeah, that's something I feel is really working well for all the Chinese students as well.
Just one last question about that. Do you think it's different when you do that in China versus the US?
Yeah, in China, it's really hard to just jump into a very deep exercise. For example, the childhood memory is one of the deeper one. It's really hard to just jump into that because people don't want to express themselves. They don't want you to go very deep in their head. So I will give them just very simple exercise like what we just did, or simply just let them close their eyes, using their body, start drawing shapes or characters. Then they start getting used to how I use mind to control my body and explore different part of the possibility of your body. Then they will let go. They can go deeper. But here, I think you can just go deep. People are ready to jump right into it, because I think more open to express themselves emotionally than my Chinese students. Yeah.
They don't, yeah, we have permission to do that. Thank you, Ying. And thank you for I see how that could be a meditation. I understand because you took us through that exercise. Thank you. So to you listening here on the phone, unmute yourself and share a question for Jenny about Stage Time. And thank you, Sai, for putting up the link to Stage Time Arts. Or for Ying, unmute yourself and either share your question or comment, or type the question and I'll read it to the group.
I have a question. So it seems it's more and more popular for webinar. I'm not sure what's the difference between if the artists, they promote their work on webinar compared to Instagram or the other platform?
So the question is
Well, for both.
for both.
Yeah.
Can you restate that one more time?
So the webinar is kind of the new way to promote the different like business or different speech. It's kind of new tool. So for the artist, I'm not sure if it could bring the different value compared to what they are using today, like Instagram or the different tool. Because probably for artists, it's more obvious to use the Instagram. However, for entrepreneur, probably it's more like webinar tool or the different tool. And how is there any way to combine two? Or for artists, could it be useful also for the webinar? So because webinar it seems is quite new and very popular now. So that's why I have this question for both.
I think this is something that I think I deal with a lot with my clients, and it's trying to figure out where most of your value is, because I assume in the kind of webinar you're talking about, someone is there's a very clear purpose, and they're probably looking for a pretty clear outcome. When it's a webinar, we know it's self-promotional, good or bad, with no actual morality attached to that. It's self-promotional. That's very clear. If they've put themselves in the position of doing a webinar, there's a very overt acknowledgement of, hey, I'm an expert in this thing, and I'm either going to tell you about it or I have compiled a way to show you, as opposed to something that I think Jing is captured so beautifully with her Instagram, and that's what stuck out to me, is that she just does, and she doesn't judge it while she's doing it, which is so, I mean, that's one of the most famous Martha Graham quotes, the really long one, you know what I'm talking about, the Blessed Unrest. It's this beautifully written quote, and I'll link it if anybody wants. But essentially it's, if you're the artist, your job isn't to judge what's going on, because if you're judging it, you're not really doing it. And leave it up to everybody else to decide if that's value that they want to monetize or sell or whatever else. But while you're doing it, it's not really your job to judge it. And I think that's probably why Xing has found so much success with her Instagram, because she just spoke to it. She doesn't judge it. It's one take. And people respond to that because it's a really straightforward, pure thing. And so now that she has this fan base and she's established herself as an expert in not just Instagram and not just dance, but in this kind of this special sauce, the thing that's hard to quantify, she probably could put it into a webinar and say, hey, this is what it is. But for half of her audience, they probably don't want that. They don't want to see behind the curtain. They want the magic. And then for other people, they want to see behind the curtain. So I think for an artist, it's deciding, who are you talking to? And that's actually why I love Stage Time, because for a lot of things we do as artists, we want to be with an audience. I mean, that's what it is. And we want to share that final product, that magic, and we want you to like it, and we want you to clap. And then some people just want to go home. And I think Instagram can sometimes feel like you walked off stage and had to keep performing if you have to keep putting that final product, that magic out. So I think it's just breaking it apart and deciding what is most valuable for you to share. And if it is to say, you know what, no, I'm an expert, I'm going to share a webinar and people like it, awesome. That was probably the right fit for you. If it was, no, I was really moved in 30 seconds in a streetlight in Paris, and that's my business, take it or leave it. It's just a different thing. But that is kind of why I love Stage Time, is it's for that chunk of people who says, sometimes I just need to make a connection, or it's really just my job to make sure that those materials are present so someone can hire me down the road. Does that answer your question?
Yes, today we have so many social tools, either for artists or for the other entrepreneur on the different technology field, like for IT or different things. I think most important is we choose the right tool to reach out to the right audience. That's important. And
yeah, I just want to talk about like what we actually using the most right now. Actually, we're using Zoom the most. You know, we actually starting to develop this, which is a product you want to sell. For example, social media is a brand. It's like where the window is, right? You put a short preview there, and people will draw into it and will ask you, oh, where we can get this technique. For example, sometimes we'll put a very short technique video on it. They want to ask where we can take the class. Then they can go to, for example, email you, they can give the Zoom link, then you can actually sell your class online. That's what a lot dancers doing nowadays. I was on this one panel about how performance arts should be, you know, on board with technology or not. A lot of people being very conservative, right? They say, oh, don't put it online. If you put it online, the whole thing, who want to go to the theater to see it? And my personal experience is when I see something online, even they put a full-length performance video, I still want to go to see in real life because it's completely different experience. Almost give you that a little taste of when you go to Oliver or Balsamic shop, you know, they give you a little cup. You taste it. Oh, I'm gonna get that bottle. So that's how I felt. And a lot of people was holding back a couple years ago because of the pandemic. Everybody's on board because there's no other way. You have to survive. You have to make money. Then all the tools working for us right now is being using. For example, I would never even heard of Zoom before this pandemic. And now I'm teaching tomorrow morning, actually 7 a.m. I'm gonna teaching a live stream class to Chinese students when they're 7 p.m. you know, at home. This is happening just because we kind of push to a edge, like, okay, you got to use whatever you want to use, whatever works for you to make a living, because it's not that easy. So I guess it's the time we kind of gain more skills than before.
It's pushing all of us out of our comfort zone. I can say that, you know, for our organization too. Other questions?
I've got one for Jenny, and I first want to add an editorial comment. My experience of webinars is they're always selling something, so it always closes with a sales pitch that they want you to buy something. My question for Jenny is landing pages versus websites. When do you find that people want landing pages versus websites?
Well, does my client want a landing page or a website, or does the audience want a landing page or a website?
Great question. I think the question is whether your audience would want, or whether their audience would want a landing page.
Their audience would want a landing page, not a website, which is, you know, my big secret. Because if I tell everybody that, then I'm out of business because I design websites. No, that was something that became really, really apparent. Singers, shockingly, did not want all of the property IDs to their Google Analytics accounts for their websites. So I have those all in one account. And when you have, I think I've done 90 actual websites at this point. When you have 90 property IDs for Google Analytics lined up with a lot of other variables controlled. I mean, opera is pretty niche. I design mostly for opera singers. That's my background and that's my network. And I just have never needed to move out of it. But when you line all of those up and you realize that a lot of the controls are the same, the behavioral patterns are really evident. And I found that people, they skim. They spend maybe 30 seconds on a website total. Again, it was 60, 80, 100 hour project for me. They're there for 30 seconds. They're more willing to scroll than they are to navigate. So I try to include what I think is the hierarchically most relevant information from each subset on the homepage. So best headshot, one line of the bio with a read more button, best recording with a big clear play button that I've made really beautiful, because if I make it more beautiful, people stick around longer. That was quantifiable. So a landing page is the answer. And that is actually entirely how I designed Stage Time was, oh my gosh, nobody is going through an 8-page website. what are they consuming? Oh, the homepage, a couple seconds on the biography page, they bounce over to media, watch a video, and then maybe make the touch point of reaching out to someone's management. So it was extracting the most important things, kind of culling backwards and trying to replicate that. It's stage time is a bunch of landing pages when it comes down to it. But I mean, think about the last time you read an entire Wikipedia article, right? Like you Googled Beyonce and there are paragraphs and paragraphs, but you would have to read the whole thing and then decide for yourself what's most important. And that might not be the story Beyonce wants to tell. You might not get to her Grammys until the 6th paragraph, but that might be the thing she wants you to know. Or you wouldn't know that she had kids and that her kids are the fodder for her songs until 8 paragraphs down. So it's kind of, how do you empower people to tell their best story?
Other questions? I'm going to ask Jenny and Ying both. What's your next big thing? What are you excited about? What are you working toward? They're both looking at each other. Jenny?
Any?
I need to be a good steward of the Community Ideation Fund so that I can not spend so much time on one website for one artist, but try to do something that could help a little more people a little more efficiently.
Yeah. Build that platform.
Yeah, that's my next big thing. Don't burn it to the ground before it launches in a couple weeks.
And it's, at this point, it's for opera singers because that's what you know and that's your network. But could it be expanded to people like Ying or other kinds of performers?
Yeah, I think the more it's a fun crosshairs to try to hit. Not keeping it too niche, but not making it so generalized that I'm not taking care of somebody truly. But yes, I think there's pretty direct product market fit for opera singers into, okay, well, if it's just performers, if it was just opera singers, that would have its own value, but that's a database, not a network without multiple pieces of the marketplace. So right now, if arts administrators can be on LinkedIn, that's good and well for them to have that conversation there. But if they're having it without any performers, I already see that as a really big problem. So expanding those roles to opera singers, administrators. What do I do with the agents? The agents are the recruiters. Oh my gosh, all of the performing arts have this infrastructure. Okay, what else does? The entertainment industry, people producing within the entertainment industry, the fitness industry, broadcast journalism. It's just important how you show up and smile if you're gonna go be an anchor for CNN or whatever else. But we get uncomfy when we have to quantify human capital, which is understandable, but I don't think it's fair to evade it completely. So,
Ying, what's your next big thing?
My next big thing is, well, there's a few. First of all, gonna raise my daughter in a very healthy and happy way. I just had my baby daughter, Frankie, 3 months ago. So my next big thing will be get back in shape, and when the pandemic finish, we'll go back with the company, performing, touring. And also I have a Shanghai Dance Theater Center. It can happen at the wrong, now the bad timing because the pandemic is kind of haven't even opened yet. It's already kind of, closed. We're trying to reopen it through online teaching first, and hopefully by fall, everything can go back to normal. And that's what we're doing now. We are reprogramming the whole, the classes and everything for students. And we're doing a workshop with the Graham Company, and also trying to launch our summer intensive with the Graham Center as well. So that will be the next big thing for us. Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm teaching every day because of, technology. So I'm grateful for that.
Helpful. It helps.
Yeah.
Listen, we are at 9:02. It has been a wonderful conversation. Jenny, thank you for giving us your time. Good luck as you build Stage Time. Can't wait to see it.
thank you for having me.
Me
And
too.
Ying, good to see you. Take care of everyone there.
Will do.
All of you stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll be back next week with Hog Molly. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.